Yo, yo, yo. Hello, another episode of PSN Now at Home. PSN Now at Home. PSN News of the Week on the PSN at Home Television Internet Network. Anyway, hope everyone's doing great. Hope you've all had a great week. I'm going to recap the news. Let's get to it. Let's rock and roll. Houston, Texas. Dispatchers no longer screening for COVID questions for callers. Not asking about symptoms. And you're like, whoa, what's up with that? Well, apparently, there's a recognition that there's been so many different cases, and I think it was Chief Pena down there who said there's a recognition there's too many cases. The folks who are calling in are not necessarily being truthful about their symptoms, and too many firefighters have been infected with COVID. And so they are going to treat every case as if it is positive before they go out. Now, I don't think that's a bad practice to do, but at the same token, it does scratch, you scratch your head a little bit about like, well, still, wouldn't you want to ask the question and see if you can get more information? Some people will be truthful and say, yeah, I have, cold symptoms. I have a fever, at least that puts you on higher alert. But if you're going to treat them all the same and, we need that kind of protocol, especially in the hot spots, it is what it is. We got to do what we got to do. So that's what's going down in Texas. A little more on tech on the COVID side. Washington State University Science have developed a COVID-19 application called the COVID Urban Rural Explorer, or CURE, which provides a daily snapshot into COVID cases in rural communities across the United States. It's focused specifically on highlighting rural urban inequities in COVID cases and provides a daily report in areas we're experiencing spikes. And this is really important because, originally we saw COVID, hitting the urban areas big time, but it's not just an urban issue. It is spread, and we're seeing big outbreaks in rural areas. And, countries that have been successful in fighting this thing, tracing, contact tracing, quarantining, masking, and doing what we need to do. Did I say tracing? So I applaud these folks, applaud Washington State for the new application that is being used. This is, I think, super responsible. We need to do more of this and get this ugly virus under control. Moving to what's going on in policing, the feds. The feds, we know they've been down in Portland causing a little bit of a ruckus, causing a little stir up. Well, Operations Legend is a federal operation. It started in Kansas City. It expanded to Chicago and Albuquerque, and now moving to Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Detroit. They're going to have over 40 personnel come to Detroit, 25 to Cleveland and Milwaukee. And this is a combination of FBI, DEA, federal marshals, tobacco firearms that are supposed to be helping local law enforcement fight violent crime, and particularly gun violence. This sounds great on its face. Is it going to work? First question, were they invited? Do these localities want the feds to come in? I do not know the answer to that. My reporting has not revealed that to me at this point. But we know there was some issues in other cities where feds have shown up. So my hope is, and having been a former Fed who worked with state and localities and state and local public safety when I was at FirstNet, I know they can work together and work together really well for great outcomes. My hope is that's what's going to happen here, and that folks are going to reach across here, work together, because yes, we need to squash violent crime. But at the same token, this can't be open warfare on cities. This can't be open warfare on citizens, on protesters. This has to be done responsibly. So, crossing my fingers. What I'm saying to you is listen to your Papa Jason here, and let's all get along. You know what I'm saying? Boom. Because I'm from New York, and if I got to come down there, you're going to be in trouble. So let's hope that this all works out for the better. We'll keep our eye on it. A lot going on and continuing police reform in LA and California. They are considering a law that would criminally prosecute public safety bystanders who do not act when another officer violates the law or uses excessive force. So this is a pretty big deal, right? I mean, obviously, kudos in terms of taking action to ensure that any officer that either engages in or permits by passive activity, criminal activity, or excessive violence to take place should absolutely, period, end of story. Okay, boom, drop the mic. But there's a lot of questions here, right? Because unlike in the George Floyd incident where there was an 8-9 minute window for people to act, oftentimes where there is force escalates very, very quickly. It can be done in a matter of seconds. And there may or may not be time for others to react or to stop it. So then the question is, well, was there enough time? What should they have done? Do they have post-incident obligations to report the conduct? Should they arrest the offending officer on site, on scene? Right? So these are the questions that need to be answered. So on any responsible legislation, in my mind, you need to think through these so we don't have unintended consequences. And yes, we hold the right people responsible for doing bad things, but we don't overreach, and we have sufficient safeguards in place to protect those that are doing, acting responsibly, you know, at the moment. So something to consider. Kentucky, Alexandria, Kentucky, since 2016, they've been using social workers. We talked about this previous weeks to supplement police for certain cases like homelessness, drug abuse, mental illness, substance abuse, that kind of thing. And so they've been doing it for 3 years, have saved apparently hundreds of thousands of dollars and significantly reduced arrests. And so they've reported some very positive information there. That's another model. Apparently social workers work with the police, go out to these cases. They've reduced arrests by 15% and save on average about $50,000 a year. This is only a 17-person department. So this is very, very small. So imagine what this could be, you know, larger if we're putting the right emphasis and the right resources behind these teams. We know we've talked about others in the country that in some cases, like in Eugene, Oregon, with the Cahoots program, they have social workers go out by themselves. And then there are other programs we talked about last week where you've got teams, where you'll have police, EMS, and social workers go out together, and they play different roles. So there's a lot of different models. Love to see, you know, the positive responses, and you know, these are what other departments should be looking for in terms of reaching out to these, you know, successful departments to get information about what's the best way to move this forward. Because as I've said before, if we all kind of coordinate and work together on this and include the community, because I think that's important, then you know, I think we're going to have much, much better outcomes. But you know, hey, listen, I'm on the kumbaya train these days. We got to work together. We've been so divisive. Oh my God, this country's so divisive, right? Boom, boom, boom. Let's get together. Let's love each other. I'm giving you a big hug. Smooches. Okay. Next, who else is doing this? Knoxville, Tennessee. They are doing a pilot program with social workers as well. Kudos to you, Knoxville. And they're also now requiring body cams, full transparency. I love it. I think everybody should have body cams. You know, we need full transparency. We need operation and enforcement of the law. We need the rule of law, but we need the right resources as well. It's not always about law enforcement per se. It's about ensuring the right care is given. So kudos to Knoxville, Tennessee for what they're doing as well. Indianapolis, Indiana have also employed new use of force policies, de-escalation tactics, you know, banning the chokeholds, and banning shooting from or to moving vehicles. So I think super responsible. Overland Park, Missouri has also put in a similar policy in terms of moving vehicles. Exceptions, of course, where the vehicle is being used as a weapon itself, as being driven into a crowd and that kind of thing. You need that kind of exception, of course. But these are all, I think, very good and responsible ways to ensure that we don't have unnecessary collateral damage in enforcing the laws. So kudos to them. That's the update on what's going on in law enforcement. Let's move to tech. So National Institutes of Standards and Technology at the Department of Commerce has concluded a study that says facial recognition systems are being confused by face masks. Duh. Hey, who are you talking to? Is it me? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am now? Can you see who I am now? How about now? Can you see who I am now? What about now? Of course, your face is obstructed. Why are we wasting time and money on studying whether these systems are going to be able to identify people with masks? They're not. They already have problem with people without masks and inherent bias and other technical limitations. So fine, we know the industry is looking to fix it. Come on, stop wasting our time. There's better things to do with the money. To me, yeah, okay, yeah. Who am I? I mean, come on, that's crazy. So moving on. I want to talk a little bit about mobile integrated healthcare. Huge proponent. I am on board. I think this needs to happen nationwide, period. End of story. Do it. Just do it now. We'll figure out a way to do it. I got great data here from MedStar Mobile Healthcare in Fort Worth, Texas. They've been doing it since 2009 and dealing with frequent flyers, dealing with lower acuity cases, and putting in appropriate alternatives to transports to the ED. And they recently published data, and I got to tell you, it's phenomenal. I mean, and I love data. Data, it's facts. These are facts. You can't dispute this. Nobody could dispute this, right? This is what the facts say. What do the facts say? I'm going to tell you what the facts say. So just hold on 1 second. They studied in terms of frequent flyers, high frequency cases, 779 patients over a 2-year period. Reduced ambulance transports by almost 6,000. That's almost 50%. Dudes, 50%, half. And for frequent flyers, it was 70% reduction. Translate that into dollars. You want to know how much? Because I'm going to tell you how much. $23 million in 2 years. Who wants to save $23 million? Raise your hand. I see you out there. Raise your hand. Guess what? Better patient outcomes too, believe it or not. Yes, so for lower acuity cases, they have a 911 nurse triage program. It's very similar. Well, they'll send a nurse out, come out in a normal car, or there'll be a center that they can be brought to that's not the ED. They can be treated over the phone, and there is training for these patients at home to help them better self-care. Okay, and what did we get there? We got almost 40% reduction in ambulance responses to emergency departments, $6 million in savings in healthcare expenditures, and 96% patient satisfaction rate. 98% said they'd recommend the program. Dudes, this is a no-brainer. No-brainer. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Mobile integrated healthcare. We have the tech. We got the broadband networks we need. We have the connectivity. We have the applications. This is just like, we've got to do this. This needs to happen nationwide. This should be an absolute reform in how we're dealing with healthcare in the field, period, end of story. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are political challenges, there are financial challenges, but I can tell you what, we with FirstNet were handed a legislation that said, we're going to give you some spectrum, and you can go auction off some other spectrum, try to raise some money, and other than that, you got to build a nationwide public safety broadband network with no more money, no dollars. It's got to be self-sustaining. Go. You know what? Wasn't easy, but we did it. And just the same way, there's ways to find new operating models, ways to put these programs in place, because it's not just about saving $23 million over 2 years. It's not just about reducing patient transports by 50%, but think of the ripple effects of that. Freeing up key doctor resources to face to face and be able to have time for more urgent situations. And then the ripple effect of the healthcare impacts that has, so that everybody's feeling this. That reduces costs overall in the system. That reduces hospital visits and doctor visits and insurance reimbursements. I mean, so putting these things in place is critical. So anyway, I've said my piece. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Mobile integrated healthcare. End of story. All right, PSN Wow. PSN Wow. Okay, this is news of the week on the PSN Wow. So We got crazy stories, going on. I think that facial recognition story is kind of PSN wow. Like, wow, who's talking? I don't know, because my face is covered. Duh. Anyway, what happens when your entire volunteer fire department quits? Well, according to Pinehurst, Texas, apparently nothing. So there was a pronouncement that they needed to save money because of a new computer-aided dispatch system that had been put in. It was costing more money. They needed to save money. So they said, no more firefighters going out on medical calls. That's reserved to the ambulance service. And they use Acadian ambulance down there. And for the most part, most of the firefighters were not certified in any event. Well, the volunteer firefighters took exception to that. They walked out, said, we're done. I appreciate the conviction, but at least according to Pinehurst, medical calls are still going to be taken by Acadian, and the City of Orange Fire Department is going to be handling fire calls. So I'm not sure if this had the intended effect, but is what it is. We'll keep monitoring to see what happens. I wish certainly all of those volunteers well, and all the volunteers around the country have huge respect for everything they do. So hopefully that gets worked out. And last but not least, we have got the Fill the Boot campaign, which we're all familiar with. The International Association of Firefighters Fill the Boot campaign for muscular dystrophy, normally going on all around our communities. You're seeing firefighters out there with boots. We're filling it with money, with cash. We can't do that this year, so they're doing it virtually. So it's, get out there, get online. Please donate. Fill the Boot for muscular dystrophy. Exceedingly important effort that the firefighters engage in every year. And so on that note, I want to say go out, do that, be healthy, be safe, keep doing what you're doing, stay on the front lines, have integrity, and understand that you're appreciated. We love you. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, whatever's coming up. I am Jason Carp-Esquire from PSN Now, and I am out of here. Boom. See you.